Full Contact Podcast, buckle up, you heard, like, follow, and share. Lycoming, you heard, we dare. Pulses of the port, and why do people leave? Crank up the truth with Beth and Steve.
Welcome back to Lycoming, ya heard. I'm Steve Marshall.
And I'm Beth Fulmer.
Okay, let's jump into a deep dive today, and we're keeping it local, focused right here on Lycoming County for you.
That's right. We're looking at a recent piece from FAFO Media. It was reported by their chief analyst, Mustin, Hale.
Yeah, and it's one of those stories that seems, pretty specific on the surface.
But it really pulls in some bigger ideas. We're talking elections, constitutional rights, how local government handles things.
Exactly. So our goal here is to kind of unpack this situation from the article. It touches on free speech, election law, and this interesting angle of churches being used as polling places.
Right. It really gives you a window into how these sometimes abstract concepts play out, like right here on the ground.
For you, the voter, the resident, it highlights those tensions that can pop up.
Definitely. Officials, citizens. Elections can bring these things to the surface.
Okay, so the FAFO Media article, it kicks off with a situation brought up at a county commissioner's meeting.
Yeah, by a citizen, Bruce Clark from Muncy. He had an issue related to a polling place.
And that polling place was the First United Methodist Church in Muncy.
Which, according to the report, had an agreement with Lycoming County Voter Services to be a voting location.
Okay, so what was the actual conflict?
Well, Mr. Clark stated he'd put up some campaign signs. He said they were about 50 yards away from the polling site entrance.
50 yards. Okay. Now, there's a specific rule about this in PA, isn't there?
There is. The Pennsylvania Election Code, 25 PS Section 30060D, it requires people doing any electioneering to stay at least 10 feet away from the polling place.
10 feet. That's the magic number.
Right. It's meant to create, a neutral zone right at the voting spot. No last-minute campaigning right in your face as you walk in.
And Mr. Clark's point, based on the article, was his signs were way beyond that. 50 yards is, 150 feet? So well outside the 10-foot limit?
Clearly outside, yeah. But then the article says the church's pastor, Richard Robinson, took some kind of action about the signs.
Action. What was his reasoning?
The report says his stated concern was about protecting the church's tax-free status, and also something about the image the signs projected near the church.
Ah, okay. So Mr. Clark sees this as a violation of his First Amendment rights, his free speech.
Especially since he felt he was following the election law on distance, yeah.
And this is where it gets interesting, right? You've got these different principles sort of colliding.
Exactly. You've got the state election law trying to keep polling places neutral. You've got the citizens' First Amendment free speech right.
And then boom. The location itself is a church.
Which adds another whole layer. Because when a government function like voting happens in a religious building, you bump into other First Amendment stuff.
Like the Establishment Clause, right. Government not favoring a religion.
Right, and also the Free Exercise Clause, protecting religious practice. So the county, by using the church, still has to make sure election laws are followed fairly.
They need to ensure neutrality there, just like at, say, a fire hall or a school.
Precisely. Now, there aren't, Supreme Court cases that say exactly how to handle campaign signs 50 yards from a church polling place. But the general idea is the polling location itself shouldn't seem like it's endorsing anyone or anything.
So the pastor's reasoning about tax status or image, that adds another dimension. Was it church policy or his interpretation of what should be near the grounds?
It complicates things, definitely. Was his action based on the election law or something else entirely, even if the signs were legally placed according to state law?
And according to the FAFO Media report, Mr. Clark felt he hit a dead end trying to get it sorted out.
Yeah, he reportedly contacted Forrest Lehman, the Lycoming County Director of Elections.
And Lehman's response, according to Clark in the article, was basically, I'm not going to do anything.
And apparently the pastor also indicated he wasn't planning to do anything more either.
So you can see Mr. Clark's frustration, as reported anyway. He feels his rights were ignored by both the church and the county officials he spoke to.
Which led him to take it to the commissioners?
Right. And he reportedly ended his comments with a warning. If you don't do something, gentlemen, you're looking at lawsuits.
Which really shows how strongly he felt about it and the potential seriousness of the situation.
So when we step back, what does this specific Lycoming County incident reported by FAFO Media tell us?
Well, I think it really highlights how complex things can get when you have these fundamental rights, like free speech, bumping up against very specific rules, like electioneering distances.
All happening in a unique setting, like a church being used for a civic duty.
Yeah. And it puts a spotlight on a tough question for local officials, doesn't it? How do you balance protecting that polling place neutrality and enforcing the 10-foot rule?
While also upholding free speech rights further away and dealing with the specific concerns of a religious institution hosting the vote, like that tax status or image concern the pastor raised.
It's not always straightforward. Those different layers, the legal requirements, the constitutional rights, the property owner's perspective, they can pull in different directions.
Definitely something for all of us here in the county to think about, as we see how these situations are handled. Thanks for digging into this one with us.
The shore has no snooky, that's the word. And Missy Lane's sugar cookies slap, you heard. Like, follow, and share. Lycoming, you heard, we dare. Pulses up the port and why do we believe? Crank up the truth with Beth and Steve.